Hello, I'm Jake. I'm the bar manager at Publiq, and today we're shooting with inside the drinks business. If you want to follow me and come inside Publiq.
Hi, good morning. This is Ankita from London Spirits Competition, and today we are with Jake of Publiq, which is based at Palace. So good to have you, Jake, at inside the drinks business. We are kind of trying to cover most of the bars that is possible, most of the venues actually, and we try to interact more to see what we can give back to the industry in terms of knowledge, in terms of practicality, and in terms of where the industry is moving forward. So I appreciate your time to give us and allow us to utilize and have your interview at Publiq. So why don't we start with yourself? Like, you can just brief us about what is your role, what do you do, and how long you have been in the industry.
So currently I'm the bar manager. I look after all the beverage, so curating the cocktail list, the beer list, the wines, the coffees, the teas, because we do brunch on the weekends as well. So yeah, I look after all that and all the training surrounding it. And I think I've been working in cocktail bars 7 years now.
Okay.
But I've been in hospitality since I was like 16, so 10 years, 11 years now.
16 years?
Since I was 16, so
okay.
about 10, 11 years now,
okay.
Yeah. Like working in pubs and stuff when I was younger. But yeah, so I'm just looking after the cocktails. We do a seasonal cocktail menu. So it's not the most complex. We don't have all the lab equipment, but it's regularly changing, and I try and utilise some of the kind of lower cost tech, like vacuum machines and vacuum bags and enzymes and stuff like that. Not sort of the most innovating bar, but okay. I think something that's really key is just to use great produce in the peak of the season, and you get great cocktails from it. So yeah, it is really key to be organised, and clean when you're working, to be the quickest as possible. We organise our cocktail pre-batches very specifically in menu order, so that actually I don't need to look at the label when I'm grabbing it. There's nothing worse than when someone puts it in the wrong place and I grab the wrong bottle. It happens from time to time, which is why it's important to kind of, have a look, check the station. I've got all my kind of tools here on the side. Everything's very reachable, which is important. We've got metal straws here as well for tasting cocktails as we go, which is really important for dilution and for chill.
So being a bar manager, tell us what is different when it comes to the responsibility of taking all the beverages. So you're responsible for wine, I see, you're responsible for coffee, you're responsible for tea, you're responsible for everything. So your experience is of more of a person who handles a bar, but when there is an added responsibility of you to take care of other beverages, how do you keep it with it? Or what is your learning source? How do you learn about it?
I don't know. I love tea, coffee, wine, beers. So it's not something I've ever struggled with, because it's something that I love learning about. And do you know what? If you limit yourself to not learning about these different types of beverage, you can kind of limit yourself with the cocktails. I mean, all of these, they're excellent for using in cocktails. So it's something that I've always kept a kind of a mind to, reading books and stuff like that, and learning on the job as well. It's as well, I don't see it as any different. Don't see it as a separate part to the cocktail list. It's all what we what we kind of give, what we have on offer, and there's something for everyone, which is the kind of the idea is to make it as inclusive as possible. Not everyone drinks.
True.
So to have a good kind of non-alcoholic cocktail selection as well as soft drinks or teas.
It brings
coffees.
more people, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, it brings more people, more
maximising.
diversity, and it keeps you in a way like moving on, because all the type of people are going to show up.
Yeah, there's normally a fruit box here. It's in the fridge at the moment. But yeah, garnishes are there. Cut on a nice clean chopping board. Always keeping it clean, always wiping it. A couple of freezers with some martini serves and some frozen glassware ready to go. And a backup freezer there for some more glassware and some more ice. We do cut the ice in-house. All the bar kind of like work in terms of doing cocktails, batching, cutting ice, all happens in the kitchen as well. So yeah, this is very much a dispense bar. So everything's stocked up. There's spares of all the pre-batches in the back. Spare wine, spare soft drinks, all chilled, ready to go as well.
So when you say seasonal menu, what goes in a menu of, let's say, a place like this, like Publiq, where every beverage is under one roof? So when you talk about the seasonal menu, how frequently does it change, or how do you consider when you want to put a new menu? Do you consider changes in everything, like from tea, coffee, wine, beer, spirits, or how? Yeah.
So this seasonal bit really applies to the cocktail list. So we've got non-alcoholic cocktails with 3, and then we've got a main menu kind of 8 to 10, depending on kind of what's in season, and it can vary. Sometimes we drop a few, sometimes we increase up to 10, and then we have 2 to 3 dessert drinks as well. So the dessert drinks, they'll follow more, in winter they're a little bit kind of richer, a little bit more luscious, and then in the summer they'll be a little bit lighter. The main cocktail section is where it's really, really seasonal. So I'll buy, say I've got a pear and thyme spritz on at the moment. I've had this on the menu, so I've been making it since pears came in season, so like kind of December. As soon as pears are out of season, or at least the quality's dipped, I'll move on to it. The wines we're trying to do, we're kind of trying a new approach now, changing the wines, the still wines every 3 months, and then the sparkling wines we're going to try and do every 6 months to kind of match with the seasons. In summer you want the lighter styles, you don't want super tannic reds, you want lighter, fruity, maybe some tannins but not loads. Easy drinking stuff as well.
Got it.
So we're trying to keep on that. The coffee, we get our coffee from Square Mile, which is quite a well-known kind of coffee supplier, and we use their seasonal espresso. So their coffee changes as and when. So I think they've just changed from their blend was Red Brick, and then they've just changed on something else now, which I think is Sweet Shop maybe. Yeah, it's just
so when they changes, you just make the changes accordingly at your place.
So a lot of what we do is we choose our suppliers with a purpose. So one of our main suppliers is Natura. They base their whole business around supplying fruits that are in season from specific farms. So there's only so many of us in the team, and we're being smart by getting the legwork done by some who specialises in it.
So you deal with the suppliers as well when it comes to everything?
Not with everything, just some of it. I share that with the kitchen. I let the head chef take a lot of the lead because he's ordering a lot more, and I'm ordering fruits and vegetables and spices as and when. So he takes the lead on that. But there's a lot of teamwork. Especially with a small team, you just need to communicate a lot and make sure everyone knows and is kept informed.
Got it. So a spirit supplier is something that you take into consideration?
Yeah. I did look after the spirit supplier as well. We're using a couple, some smaller ones, some bigger ones, but we do choose what we stock as well. 5 things to make a successful bar is keep it tidy, which it goes measures. If you know where to find things and everything's organised, you're dating stuff right, it's just you're setting yourself up for success. A clean bar. No one likes fruit flies, no one likes rodents, anything like that. So a well cleaned bar is essential. The biggest one for me though is if you need to be an organised bartender. If you're not an organised bartender, you're just setting yourself up to fail. You know, the people that get in the weeds the most behind bars are the people that aren't keeping on top of their stations. The same with chefs. If you look at a good chef and a bad chef, the good chef is going to be clean, tidy, organised, and you can just crank stuff out. And there's a lot of muscle memory as well. A lot of the things, like some of the bottles on the back bar, I can reach without even looking, and I know it's going to be there. This just adds to everything. Your speed, you look more professional doing it as well, and you are just generally going to be, you know, 2 seconds quicker across like 100 actions in a night, or 1,000 actions. You know, if you make 100 cocktails and you make them that so much quicker each time, it just adds up and adds up and adds up. And I think it's the same with conserving the amount of steps you're doing. Can you do 2 things in one movement? Can you build a round of 5 cocktails at the same time?
Like more multitasking is something which is
multitasking and organised, I think, is super important.
So how many of you are here, those who are working at Publiq? So what is the team size?
I think at the moment we're about 8 or 9.
Okay.
We just had someone's just left to move on to another role. We're about 8, 9 people, 10 people at max. So it's quite a small team. We all wear a lot of hats, so we have an area that we look after, kind of thing. So mine is all the beverage.
Okay.
Vinay, the assistant GM, he looks after the guest relations and stuff like that, bookings. And obviously we've got GM, chefs as well.
So at a given point of a time, let's say you start at 4 p.m. So at that time, when the time is peak, let's say 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., how many of you are there at the bar, and what are your roles?
So we'll have one behind the bar because we've got quite a small bar counter, and the cocktails, they're made to be pretty streamlined. So we do pride ourselves on giving quick and efficient service, as well as a friendly service. So all the cocktails are pretty streamlined, easy to do. There's a lot of batches and stuff like that. And then we have 2 people on the floor up here, and then if we're using the full venue, because we have downstairs as well, we'll have another person down there. So Friday, Saturday night, we'll have at least 4 on.
4
during the busy time. Yeah. Occasionally, if we're really, really busy, the bar owner will come and help as well, and there'll be 5. Those are the Saturdays and Sundays in the summer.
Yeah, so I think you need more hands when it's weekend and you see that people are just going to pour in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We use the speed rail for our kind of cocktail pre-batches and spirit batches and stuff like that. So you won't find any speed rail spirits, and instead we just use the back bar because it's the same kind of movement. So for instance, our house gin, the Sipsmith, is right there, and working here is within a distance. Like, I know it's would be there without even doing anything. The same with I've got my house whiskey there, my house scotch, and my house vodka as well. Saplings right there. My other house spirits I do just have tucked down here because they're not ones that we're using loads of. But it's like bourbon and our rum and tequila is just there. It's not, like I said, we don't do loads of spirits, and it's mostly cocktails. So the whole station is set around our cocktail program.
How do you maintain your relationships with suppliers, and how frequently do you interact? What sort of conversations that usually take place when you talk to a spirit supplier, let's say?
I think we're in a pretty unique position that a lot of these spirit suppliers, or at least the marketing kind of agencies that work for specific brands, they always want to get in touch. So they're always, some of the ones that have really good relationships with, they're always available. They always let me know if I need anything, or they always have ideas for, holiday menus, seasonal menus.
Correct.
So we're doing a St. Patrick's Day one at the moment with an Irish whiskey brand called Kinahan's. So just for the week, an Irish themed venue. So it's good. We're lucky that everyone kind of seems to want to work with us at the moment.
True.
So it's good.
Do you often get involved into a lot of time on the buying decisions of spirits as well?
Yeah.
So for example, when we talk about any new brand that you wanted for your shelf or for your bar, so what are the criteria apart from, let's say, value, quality and packaging? What other things that you look for usually, if you don't consider these 3 factors, or after considering these 3 factors, what other things that you look for?
I tend to look at what the brand is doing in terms of their kind of sustainability. I know it's very easy to greenwash at the moment.
Correct.
So it's not the be all and end all. Obviously, if it tastes good, it's the main thing. And then it's kind of how they're looking after the environment, what they're doing to improve. Those are things that can help influence my decision. B Corp companies are really good to look for at the moment, but
Yep.
you know, there are some brands that they're B Corp, they're sustainable, but their product isn't there. It isn't up to standard. So it's still important that it tastes good and that the packaging is great. And then it's kind of like the other tertiary stuff that they're doing.
Got it. Okay. And how often do you make this decision of buying a new brand? Like, when does you decide that the bar needs a change and it needs new brands to be added? Is there any contract that ends with previous brands and then you look for a new portfolio? So when do you plan to go for buying?
We have a few contracts, but they're mostly just pouring contracts.
Okay.
For the back bar, we're a young bar, and when we first opened, we didn't have a back bar space, so we had like 5 bottles on the back bar.
Okay.
So then when we had a renovation about 2 years ago, and since then we've kind of been trying to fix the spirit list to be something that's interesting, and we don't sell loads of spirits from the back bar.
Okay.
We're a very cocktail led and food led venue. We're just trying to make the back bar kind of interesting enough for the discerning drinker, that there is something that they might not see somewhere else. And I think that's key when you've got a small back bar. You know, we don't have the luxury like Sexy Fish, where they've got thousands of whiskies. I've got enough space for probably like 50 bottles on the back bar.
Yeah, looks like.
So yeah, it's a good spread, good diversity of brands that I find interesting and that I would personally drink as well.
So does it help for you to upsell because of having this much of variety in terms of not just spirits but wine and beer as well? Does it help you to upsell in any way?
Yeah, I know. I'm not one for pushing upsells. I really hate when you walk into a venue and they try and flog you the most expensive thing.
Okay.
But we have the options there for people, and you know, if you have someone who's really into whiskey and they know what they want, they'll probably go for it without much hard upselling. It's definitely key to have a range of products at different price points. For instance, the Rise, I've got 4 now. I've got kind of our entry level one, 2 medium kind of price ones, and then a kind of luxury premium one. It's a little bit more special for people that are, you know, more into that kind of area. It's important to have it across the range, and then it's a good tool. If people want something a little bit more special, they can ask about it, and we've got it for them. And I think that's important. And then we've got beers in the fridge, wines nice and available, and sparkling wines at the bottom. We've got a couple of freezers full of glassware, and a small bar back area at the back there for kind of cleaning the glasses. We don't have loads and loads of glassware because we don't have anywhere really to store it, and also we're quite a small venue. So we're not somewhere that needs loads and loads. And as I was saying earlier, if we break some glass or chip a glass, we tend to sand it off and reuse it, just to try and kind of reduce the amount we're wasting. You know, glass isn't cheap, and also it's not exactly the most. It's not exactly the greenest thing to make in the world either. So if we can just give a second life to a glass.
So when you say that you're involved into a lot of trainings as well, so when it comes to giving the trainings, what sort of training do you think this kind of bar or this kind of a place that has multiple beverage option needs for somebody who's walking down on the floor? So what sort of training, or just walk us through how your day is and what sort of training do you give to people to make sure that they are independent?
The most important thing is to be trained on the things that we have. There's so many times in previous venues when, you know, you get training on very unspecific category of spirit.
Okay.
But I mean, every brand makes their spirit slightly differently, or there's something unique about them. So it's just making sure that it's appropriate training and that actually is going to get used. There's so many things that I've learned over the years I've never ever used. It's, you know, just because it's not always relevant.
Correct.
You know, being able to state the the exact climate and field that a wine was grown in is probably not going to help you sell the wine. So
True.
stuff like, can you narrow down the taste to like 3 words? Are they approachable? Descriptors for someone who maybe isn't massively into wine but wants to enjoy a glass with their dinner.
Great.
So I think it's very important to kind of have an approachable way to describe some spirits and some wines and beers.
Does your food menu gets changed along with your drinks menu?
Yeah, so it's the same idea where it's kind of seasonally led. When things come out of season, the dishes will be changed or more to suit the weather.
Correct.
As well.
And something that complements the drinks, I guess, so that it becomes easy for you to...
The idea with the venue is that the food and the drinks are 50-50. That there's not really one that's taking precedence over the other.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what sort of inventory do you keep usually? Is it like a month-based inventory or what? Because the menu changes so often. So what sort of inventory do you plan? Especially something which is really on demand and you would definitely not want to lose it out in terms of not having it in the inventory.
Because we're seasonal, if we run out, it's a good thing.
Nice.
In my
True.
opinion.
Correct.
If you're somewhere that never runs out of anything, then how are you truly trying to keep up with the season? So,
Correct.
say I buy a couple of kilos of fruit, I'll process it and turn it into, say, a cordial or something like that, and then I'll have roughly the amount of spirit to buy it, and then once it's gone, I'll move on. We don't tend to run out loads, but we do, and I'm pretty good at keeping up with the next thing. But if we run out, we run out. If it's something super popular,
replenishment is not something that you aim for. You aim for that it should be done in the particular season. I mean, that's more positive for you, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
That's an interesting thing, yes.
Yeah, and we're also a very small venue. We don't have loads of storage,
True.
so I kind of do as and when, and I try and keep my inventory as low as possible. Yeah, we do classics, but we're not a massive classic forward bar. We don't juice loads of citrus fruits and stuff like that. So generally, we can do stirred down and brown cocktails, stuff that doesn't need loads of fruit juices and stuff like that. So we have very low waste and it's very easy to plan. The only issue is when the weather's not doing what you want and some seasons are cut short.
Correct.
Or maybe the quality of the produce really drops out of nowhere.
Yes.
And the other problem or the other struggle is, sometimes the fruit and veg you get just isn't up to quality. So you need to, oh my God, the strawberries aren't great this year. I'm going to have to try and find something else or try some other producers. So it can delay the process a little bit, but if you're on top of it and you keep kind of an eye open with what's going on, you can handle it without running out too much.